but hello, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to With the Brain Trust. We are a bi-monthly networking group who has met for close to 6 years. Actually, 7, I think, is our 7th anniversary. So happy birthday to you guys. What we were meeting in person, and then due to COVID and all that stuff, we started meeting online. And basically what we've done is the last half of the meeting, we've turned it into the compression of the knowledge. So it becomes a small business brain trust. So we're hoping to share our knowledge with you, any other business owners that might find it helpful. And that's what we're doing. So before we jump in though, the presentation will be Branding Like a Boss with Gini Kanzioka. But before we do that, let's do introductions. David, do you mind going first?
My name is David. I'm with I Am Your Virtual Professional, and I get businesses found.
Thank you. Brian.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Martin with Buy One Chicago North. We're your friendly neighborhood crime scene and trauma scene cleanup company. Buy One, help first, business second.
Thank you. Lita.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lita Bunting. I'm the owner of Znimka Creations, a boutique photo management company. I help people preserve their memories so that they can spend more time making those memories and not managing them.
And I'm Michael Rattay, Ballbrain Creative, imaginative photos and videos to tell your story. And then so now we're going to jump in to give us a quick intro, and then feel free to start talking.
So this is a client that wanted logo design and graphic guidelines. They wanted to be able to do some of their own marketing materials, flyers and things like that. It's a choral group. The two important requirements they asked for were no Hebraic fonts and not the color blue. And so these are traditional brand identities for Jewish organizations that she showed me. This was quite a lengthy presentation that she gave me, which helped me a lot to understand what they were looking for and how contemporary they wanted it to be. And their guideline was moving forward, adventuring. So go on to the next one. These are non-traditional, which I found really interesting, and I like these a lot more than the others. And it helped give me a better idea of what to show them. This was one of the low, I always show 3 concepts for clients so that they could pick the one they want. Sometimes they want to tweak it a little bit, and sometimes they don't. So this was the first one I showed I was working with a woman named Michelle. She brought in Wendy, who was the president of their choral group. And as soon as she saw this, she said, that's the one. So that was kind of cool. But this was another concept that I gave them. And then one more. And this was the third concept that I gave them. So they really liked that first one. And so that's what we've been doing. So the next page would be their graphic guidelines. So I gave them how the logo looks against white. Oh, and it lost some of the background here, but this actually had all lavender in the background. So I gave them an alternate color to use. And then I showed it to them on black. And then this page lists the fonts that I used for them, as well as giving them the colors. It is a CMYK RGB or hexadecimal code. So, because they wanted to be able to do their own flyers. So if anyone's ever had tried starting a project but had trouble organizing all the moving parts, I can help with that. And then the next page is just my contact information. So
that was quick. David, go back 3 slides, please, to with the CMYK and the RGB in hexadecimal. No, it was
one more. There you go.
Next. So I just wanted to talk about this real fast. Thank you, Jenny. That was efficient. And you are anything, which is what you are to a T, I feel like, is extremely efficient. And I think, which is kind of what you need when you need someone to distill what you're thinking about, like, how do you, I'm confused. And then you can say, okay, well, here's what it is. Here's what it is. Just to basically summarize this, CMYK coloring, that's going to be if someone's going to print it.
Right.
RGB is going to be if they're using it on the screen.
Or on
and
a
then hex
website.
is going to be for like the web design. So what is the difference between RGB and hex then? Or is it just similar with screen?
I think they're just similar. It depends on who's creating the website. If it's being created from scratch, they might use hexadecimal code.
And you know what? Now, as I'm saying this, I feel like the hexadecimal is one of the things that only has like 256 colors, where RGB has like the range of like a million different options. So I think that's one of the other options. So
Well, RGB can also be used for images. So if you're
David,
going to put an image
well,
on a website, you would save it as RGB.
got it.
I know that when building websites, we build in hex.
Yeah, so that's more.
And because, like you're saying, it's
You build it.
limited
Yeah,
to the
because
number of
that's
colors.
okay. So that's the website code.
Right. So that, the whole idea is that it's limited, and, the same way that you don't use weird fonts when you're building websites because they can't draw the fonts and it then defaults to something weird and basic. So when you're building websites, you want to use the Google fonts because that's something that everybody has and they're free and they're across the board. Kind of like with Hex, you use that when you're building a website.
Yep. Yeah, well said. Yeah, it sounds like a standard. Can you do so, Ginny? Just for the Z that's on for the logo. Was there? Did you have like? Because obviously, well, not obviously, but two of the other logos I felt were very musical oriented. I think there was the treble clef, and then I think there was a music note or something. But did you have a musical significance with the Z, or what was your mindset with this design?
With the Z, what I had said originally, they wanted to be moving forward. So they were, moving ahead into a more contemporary look. And so that made me think of the arrow would be moving them forward. I added the little dot over the I because it brings in sort of a human thing to it, human image to it, because it makes it look like a person because of the shape of the Z. And that's what they really liked about it.
Yeah, I would say I could almost argue with a microphone as well. I feel like the I is
The name Cole Zimmer means voice of song.
Or a microphone. So I think that's good. It's about a graphic designer is that I feel like that's like adding some of the subtleties that like just some of the subtleties into the logo, so it kind of hints at what they're going for. And like you said, you're distilling it, so you're showing that you're moving forward versus whatever else we're trying to figure out. What other is there? And I know this is probably easier said than done, but what other sort of thought processes do you go through when designing the logo?
I do a whole bunch of ideas.
They give you a tagline.
The tagline was their idea. They wanted to add the tagline, so I added that for them. But I usually go through a whole bunch of different ideas. It was singing a choral group. They wanted to do all kinds of different things. So I just thought, I do a lot of things, and I gradually eliminate the ones that I don't think are going to work very well or be well received. And there was one I did that I thought was more fun, but it didn't look very musical. So that one was out. But it's just a matter of, in fact, I like to do it over a matter of a couple days. Sometimes one day I'll sit down and I'll do 2 or 3, maybe 4 ideas. Maybe I see one that I can modify and make it look a little different. But then I put that aside. I'll tape it up on the door to my closet in my office, and then I'll live with it for a day, and then I'll go back and do another bunch of ideas, or maybe work one of those in a different way. But it's just a matter of coming up with something that I think has the right feel to show the client. And what I did was I showed these to Michelle first, and I said, if there's anything you want to change, let's do it now before you show it to a larger group. And so she liked that idea, and we talked about it. And I don't think she really made many changes other than adding the tagline. And so when Wendy saw it, she said, that's it. So that was
Nice.
pretty cool. Sometimes it happens that way, sometimes it doesn't. But
Yeah,
usually
that's
it
like the
does.
perfect example. I think one of the other things that you mentioned, and I know I've explicitly saying this in another meeting with us like years ago, but like one of the things that I don't know if people truly realize is that once you get hired, like even for me as a video, like once someone agrees they want to work with me, there's like 20 to 30, if not more percent of your brain that then allocates to this client, even though you may not be
Mhm.
seeing a finished product right away. Like you are now obsessing over the, like what the brand is, who, like the colors, and how that puzzle
Mhm.
can work itself in your head until you put it down. And then just because you put it down,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, there's like another bit of time that needs to go in where you sort of where you sit with it and you see what jumps out.
Mhm.
And then you get like draft one, and then that goes to like committee. And so I think that's another, I don't know how we can actually explain that, but I feel like just putting just like the fact that a part of your brain gets compartmentalized to like the project you're working on, I feel like is one of the reasons with working with artists, is because you're occupying a big part of their brain to
Mhm.
then be the visual image, for your business or whatever you're trying to do. So I think that's like
Mhm.
that's an important thing, because I know for artists it's obvious, but it might not be as obvious to other people that like even though you don't see the
Mhm.
work immediately, there is a bunch of like brain power that's going on to try and put this puzzle together before it
Mhm.
actually before production
Yeah.
actually happens.
Yeah.
So that's
What I
good.
like to do when I'm starting it is I like to pick out a bunch of different fonts and write the name in those fonts so that I get an idea of what it's going to look like with a symbol. And so that I think is the most important part is trying to pick out the font that would work. And in fact, the first day I start working on it, I usually have a bunch of stuff that I think is not worth showing to anybody. So I mean, but I take it with me. In fact, when I quit at the end of the day and I go downstairs to watch the news, I will take a printout with me and live with it while I'm sitting there watching the news because I'm more relaxed then and I can sort of get a better feel for what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
It's fun.
that's important. I think that's like easier. It's Yeah, well, it's like you saying getting the first draft out is like another thing that I think people can have a hard time with, because
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the thing that ends up there, but it's how you get
Uh-huh.
to there. Like you need to get this stuff
Exactly.
out and work through it and know that it's not like that's not what you're presenting to the client, but it's at least for you to internalize and see what you're working with,
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
um, did anyone else have other like creativity or like things of that nature? I know I kind of wanted to jump in on that, but does anyone else have any other thoughts?
I find
I
the
use
same.
my brand kit all the time. Like when I worked with my web designer, she did what Jenny did with the color schemes and the fonts, and I reference it all the time. And if I'm doing something, I mean, I'm not a graphic artist, so like if I'm in Canva or in InDesign or whatever, and I'm looking for a color, I will pull up my CMYK colors or the RGBs. Like she gave me those numbers, and that way, I mean, I reference it all the time. I mean, that is like my Bible when I do anything.
That's your
Uh,
graphic standards.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's great. And having those fonts, and it just allows me to continue to work with the brand that was created for me years ago. It's huge.
I find that when
And
I'm working on
it's one less
websites,
decision you need to make in the menu. So yeah, go ahead, David. Sorry.
no, I find when I'm working on websites, if I was given a page like this from the client, which doesn't always happen, it makes my life a lot easier because you're sticking to standards and you're not guessing what colors to use or fonts to use, and that makes it a lot easier. When I'm creating a website from scratch and the client says, do whatever you want, and I'm not a graphic artist, you know, sometimes it becomes
too
a bit of a
vague.
challenge. You know, it's
That's
like they, you know, it's kind of like, you know, they give you a logo and I'm like, where'd you get the logo? And, you know, I have one client who had a logo that was designed by somebody off of Fiverr. And it looked like it was designed off of somebody by Fiverr, but you can't tell them that. And then you asked for, you know, the color guide, you know, the font and color guide, and there is no such beast. So there's definitely a value to a, you know, font and color guide. It helps with, you know, gives people direct, you know, it helps give other people that touch the project down the road help, whether it be a videographer, whether it be a web developer, whether it be if they choose to have print assets made by somebody else. You know, this page is very useful. You know, this guideline page is definitely very useful for them, you know, going forward, not just for today, but for multiple projects.
Yeah, probably years down the road. Like that's the wheel, and then everyone else is literally redesigning the wheel through, you know, like each hand that has it without this kind of information. So thank you. So that was great. And Brian, I don't know if you were on mute. Were you talking to us, or did you have another?
I was on mute. I was just saying that when David was describing not having these standards, you're starting with a blank canvas, and you throw things up against the wall to see what sticks at that point. And that's the I don't know, the long form part of the creative process is when you don't have any guidelines and you're trying to show somebody something in your own mind and you don't know what they're thinking. But no, like he said, when Gini presents something in this format, it's a lot more rounded, and you know what everyone's looking at.
That's why when I met with Michelle, she had a whole presentation that she sent me, but we went through it in the meeting, and then I was able to go back through it for information. And that helped me tremendously, because sometimes people give you an idea. This is what I'm calling my new business, but they don't necessarily tell you what they want it to look like. So that helped me quite a bit, because I wouldn't have known that they don't want the color blue. I mean, I can understand why they don't want the Hebraic fonts, because some of them look kind of hard to read. So, and you want people to be able to read your name. That's important. That's the most important thing. So that's what I did.
No, that's great. So thank you. That was I think this is like the importance of pre-production, and I think there's so many other facets that just go into a logo. Like, it doesn't just populate out of nowhere. Like, there's clearly a lot of thought, and not only that, like I think as everyone hit, is that you are laying the foundation for them for like the next 3 brochures, the website, a business card for everybody. You know, like these are guidelines that now, even if they don't use you, hopefully they use you, but even if they use someone else, like someone to do the video, at least you have the colors for some of the fonts if you're going to use the Chiron or whatever. So I think this is just one of the benefits of working with somebody that knows what they're doing, and then helps, literally just sets you up for the future. So thank you. That was a good presentation.
Thanks.
Anyone else have any other final thoughts? Or I feel like we kind of hit a lot of it. Cool. All right. Well, thanks so much, Ginny. That was a great presentation, and thanks
you.
everyone for hanging out.
All right. Bye.
Bye.